was an IT engineer in Afghanistan, and I am also a music lover. I did music compositions, and sometimes I am writing some poems or phrases or like philosophy things. Sometimes I'm singing.
I was one of the survivors who took the journey. I mean, as we are all aware of, this Sahara route from the Gambia, which took me 10 months to reach Libya and cross the sea to Italy.
Believe me, dear, you will not find a refugee without stress and trauma in Germany. There was a lot of people that they are suffering because of anxiety, stress.
I told you, for tourists and for Germans, it's a perfect city. It's beautiful, but for refugees, it's really tough.
Berlin is our final destination. After a month of traveling throughout Europe, we visited different borders of Europe, in the Mediterranean Sea, in the Balkan route, and at the borders with Belarus. Berlin in Northern Europe is where our travel ends. And as soon as we arrived, we were immersed into the city with its large roads, organized subway, giving a glimpse of German efficiency. Berlin is a metropolis with almost 4 million people. It is a bustling center of power and the capital of the strongest economy in Europe. Germany is among the most developed countries in the world, a leading power in industry, science, and technology. The country is also known for the high human development and quality of life. Berlin has the reputation of being open, diverse, and enriching. This is maybe why people move there to build their future. But after a few days in Berlin, we were struck to find an unexpected, unspoken, and terrible reality. I'm your host Mohamed Bah, and this is the Scriptwriting Radio. We live in times where everything is fast, especially information, and news about migration is always superficial. So for this podcast, we strive to give enough space for migrants to talk. Welcome to Migration Chronicles, the podcast about surviving border politics. We spent the first few days in Berlin planning for our meetings for the week while we discovered the city's rich and dynamic atmosphere. We also got the opportunity to try the famous Berlin's kebab, which was very delicious. Berlin is a melting pot of cultures with nearly 3 out of 10 residents being foreign-born, representing over 170 nationalities. This diversity creates a beautiful and complex social fabric rich with different languages, religions, and traditions. Germany has long been the main destination for migrants in Europe. Since the 50s, people from all countries and backgrounds have moved to Germany to work. Thanks to the thriving industrial and business sector, the German population is partially made of grandchildren of Polish, Turkish, Russian, Italian, and Eastern European people who migrated here in the past. With 2.5 million refugees, Germany is the third country worldwide and the first in the European Union to welcome asylum seekers. The open door policy started in 2015 when Chancellor Angela Merkel famously announced the reception of 1 million Syrians, saying, "We can make it."
Wir haben so vieles geschafft, wir schaffen das. Wir schaffen das, und wo uns etwas im Wege steht, muss es.
Berlin is the hub of Germany's welcome culture. It is considered to be a space of freedom, openness, and progress. Pro-immigration movements and leftist parties fill up the cultural and social spaces that we visited, like the Refugee Cafe, which is a cultural hub for refugee artists, and Refugee Worldwide, a radio station for second-generation migrants.
Wir sind hier live in der Rec Ready. Das ist Freddy Kahner, 6 Member 5, live hier in Berlin, Ultimate Grime Session, Rosé, kick you.
A walk away, we found ourselves in the middle of a pro-Palestine manifestation. Next up was a solidarity dinner for victims of border crossings, and finally, an exhibition by a refugee poet about the Mediterranean Sea.
In a dark, scary night, as the moon was smiling in the middle of the sea, we were in distress.
Our first interview was with a couple from Afghanistan. We took the metro to a southern neighborhood and were welcomed in their apartment with tea and snacks, sitting on a beautiful Afghan carpet.
Okay, I have to introduce myself at the first.
Yeah.
My name is Yama Sadat. I'm from Afghanistan. At the end of 2018, we leave Afghanistan we came all the way illegally from Afghanistan till Europe. In Germany we arrived. We crossed like from Afghanistan to Pakistan, from Pakistan to Iran, from Iran to Turkey, from Turkey to Greece, from Greece to Montenegro, from Montenegro to Bosnia, from Bosnia to Slovenia, Croatian, from Croatian to Slovenian, from Slovenian to Italy, from Italy to Switzerland, from Switzerland to Germany. It takes us like 3.5 years to arrive here. A lot of passion, a lot of health, a lot of money. Then the journey was not easy from the first day that we leave our country, our homeland, but we didn't have another choice, and we came here with the hope of to live in a democratic area and society. It was in all over the Europe, as they are very famous there because of their democracies and the human rights and the women rights, and if you are from a small group and you are in the danger, they will help you help. So believe me that we face a lots of difficulties until we arrived to Germany. It was not an easy. It was like a war for us, and you're coming alive from that war. And God gave us another chance to live. It was unbelievable totally for us, for me, but we made it. So right now we give our interview the first day, because we cross a lots of European countries. According to the Dublin procedure, if you are in the first safe country of Europe, they are responsible to inquire your case. For this reason, the Germany wants to send us back to the Slovenian, because the Slovenian government told the Germany government that send them back, we are responsible for their case. But how could I go to the Slovenian? I don't know anyone there, and my destination was Germany. My mother, my brothers, my whole family lives in Germany.
The Dublin regulation is one of the EU's most problematic laws when it comes to seeking asylum. How does it work? This regulation says that the first country of entry in the European Union is responsible for the asylum application. Now, most asylum seekers travel further than their country of entry, during which they are stopped by the police and they are identified and their fingerprints are saved into the Eurodac information system. When they arrive in northern countries, they are most often sent back to places like Greece, Italy, or Spain. This favors northern EU countries by allowing them to avoid responsibility for asylum applicants and put a huge strain on southern EU countries.
They took my interview like 4 months ago, and still I'm waiting for my decision. I write them an email and they told me that you have to wait because of the huge amount of refugee which arrived in Berlin and all over Germany. We didn't take the decision until yet. We will give you a decision. So right now we are waiting. So with this I am not allowed to go jobs. So it makes me not a little bit more sick, and it affects my mental health a lot. I'm in an anxiety mood. Sometimes I have a lot of stress, and I'm not allowed to go to the German course because nobody is responsible to pay.
In Germany, legal advice for refugees and asylum seekers is not free. Luckily, there is an organization called Refugee Legal Clinic, composed of volunteer law students that provide free advice for migrants. We talked with Pauline Oliveira, director of the organization, and professor of law at the University of Berlin.
Yeah, in our legal trainings, students often ask, but how do asylum seekers pay their lawyers? I mean, how does that work? They ask that after we teach them how little money asylum seekers get from the state. And because in many cases they are not allowed to work, I mean, where's the money supposed to come from, right? So if you're not allowed to work and the state gives you only little money, how are you paying lawyers if you have them? I agree that it is a huge problem which adds to precarity. I think a rationale that I didn't explicitly say yet is the rationale being, well, either your claim is founded and then you are going to get accepted as a refugee, you're going to be recognized and everything is fine, then you don't need a lawyer, or your claim is unfounded, and then, well, then it's your problem because then you're not here for the right reason. So there is this assumption behind this lack of legal assistance that you don't need it because why would you? Either you have a founded claim or you have an unfounded claim.
I was an IT engineer in Afghanistan, and I am also a music lover. I did music compositions, and sometimes I am writing some poems or phrases or like philosophy things. Sometimes I'm singing. I'm very intelligent. I can do everything. I'm very expert in my way, in my what I studied, what I worked, but they didn't care about this. They didn't. I find a lot of job opportunities, very nice, like Siemens, BMW, these companies, but they told me that you are not allowed to do job. Even they are calling every day that we need worker. This is something that I didn't know. What is this? So this makes you the whole day you are waiting outside, the whole day you're not allowed to do anything. Believe me, you will not find a refugee without stress and trauma in Germany. There is a lot of people that they are suffering because of anxiety, stress. Just 2 weeks ago, I speak with some of my relatives there, and he told me, where are you going? And I told them that I'm going to the clinic. For what? He told me. What's your sickness? I told them stress. What is stress? I find out the Persian word of istirab, and I'm laughing me. This is not sickness. So in Afghanistan, nobody, and we didn't know the word stress, what it means. So here you know that what it means, and my mind is totally break down, and it's about your future, about the decision of the courts, about the post that you receive every day.
Right before we left, Yama and his wife insisted that we stay for dinner, and while we were eating a delicious homemade pizza, Yama played some music for us with a traditional Afghan instrument. Do you publish your music somewhere?
No. Sometime on Facebook.
Our next appointment was with Krishna, also from Afghanistan, and her husband. We met in the park and had coffee together, where she told us about her journey and experience in Germany.
I can't forget the first night that I came in Berlin. A big city around you, a lot of trains, lines with same, like when you are new in Berlin, you cannot recognize which way and which line, which train you should take to be in your destination. And in the first night when I came in Berlin, I was like I lost myself where I am. But now, slowly, I understand the method, I understand the way and everything. It's also a nice city. I'm happy that I'm here because it's big. It have a lot of activities. Here you can find everything very easy. And a lot of supermarkets, a lot of refugee, a lot of everything from every country lives in Berlin, so it's common to be a refugee here. We had a perfect life in our land. We had a perfect house, we had a perfect education, work, everything, and we live with everything. And with money difficulties, with money danger, and with money problems, we came here and we arrived here to have a good future, to work, to do something, because we really want to live. We want to live here, and we didn't want this free money. We lost our whole life in Afghanistan. But I can't stay for all my life and cry for the past what I lost. I want to continue. So it's life. Sometimes it's down, sometimes we have happiness, sometimes we have sadness. But I think we should continue.
When Krishna arrived in Berlin, she had to wait for 4 long years, unable to work or study. Like Yama, her family got caught up in the Dublin process and ended up spending a lot of money on a lawyer to avoid being sent back to Hungary.
It was something complicated with our case because my one brother born in Berlin, and something, I don't know, it's not funny, but it's also not like they accepted the Dublin from me, my whole family, but they rejected from that brother who born in Berlin. They said because your mother and father had finger in Hungary, so the baby should go to the Hungary. But the mother, father, and brothers and sister can stay, but the baby should go. So we gave it another money for the lawyer. We make it another case, we had 4. Me, Paiman, my family, and then my big brother got 18 here, and they separated him also as well. So we had 4 cases. That's why. When we came, my brother was not 18, but when he became 18, they told the same for him, okay, all the family can stay, but Imran should go back.
After a long time and many court cases, the family managed to stay together. But how much time, money, and mental health was lost on the way?
I told you, for tourists and for Germans, it's a perfect city. It's beautiful. But for refugees, it's really hard. That's why a lot of people in Berlin, refugee, I didn't mean others, they have a little bit mental health because of stress. I didn't mean they are crazy, but they have a lot of stress, and it's what is this? Depression and those things. I had as well, because in the beginning when you came in another country, myself, when I came in Berlin, I had so many hopes, I had so many dreams. I was so powerful and active, and I wanted to do something, to learn language, to work, I don't know, to be in the, to find myself. And then they didn't let it me, and I was in home. And in these 4 years, if you be not allowed to study, if you be not able to work, then after that it's really difficult to start again from beginning.
Even after getting her documents, the challenges didn't stop. Europe doesn't recognize university degrees from many non-EU countries. So Krishna, who was a trained midwife in Afghanistan, So all her years of hard work and study go to waste.
I went in a school in my country. I went in university in my country. And here, my all education is zero because they don't accept my documents, they don't accept my work documents because it's ASEAN country. And it's really something that they need. But I don't know, more like me, there is a lot of refugees, there is a lot of people who have finished their university, they have good jobs, but they cannot continue and they cannot work here.
On our way back to the hostel, we couldn't help but take a fresh look at the city. We had high hopes for Berlin, but after hearing Yama's and Krishna's stories, our perspective had changed. The reality of the city hits us as we walk through the Goliza Park. Homelessness and drug addiction are now impossible to ignore. Just a few days ago, we sat in the same park enjoying Berlin's vibrant atmosphere with people playing music, having picnics, but today, the park reveals a different side, one marked by marginalization and racism. As we approached the park, we noticed a group of West and Central African guys by the gate. We exchanged greetings and began to talk about life in Berlin, even considering an interview with them. But suddenly, a police van pulls up. Some of them managed to slip away, but others were not so lucky. The police searched them and checked their documents and then moved on. And in that moment, Krishna's word echoed in our minds.
In Berlin, a lot of people from, like you, African people, even if you be journalist, maybe if the police saw you, they will stop you and they will search you.
Racial profiling in the Goliza Park is widespread since the park is considered a spot for drug dealing. All black people crossing through here are often targeted by the police. In the park, we also met with a few people from the Gambian community who welcomed us in front of a small fireplace. The Goliza Park is a community place where people feel safe. It is a place where they get to meet others from their community. But the municipality and the police think differently. For the right-wing party governing this neighborhood, black people in the park are often a problem. They sell drugs, they are dangerous, and they cannot integrate.
Hey, they are racist. People are saying we are dangerous. Tell them what did they happen? What did they hear from here? What is dangerous? Did they kill some people here? Do you hear that? Every year someone died? No, it's not even good for us to say like a black man to be blamed. Every black man is a drug dealer. No, people take the mentality of every black one you see in this category in this area is a drug dealer. No.
Migration policies create these situations. If you don't allow people to work legally, what do you expect? In order to survive and sustain their family, many will be forced to either find jobs without papers, risking exploitation, or unfortunately turn to drug dealing as a last resort to make ends meet. This does not mean all migrants are drug dealers. Actually, the majority of them are not. Pauline, director of the Refugee Legal Clinic.
I think one of the main obstacles is that asylum seekers are put often in a waiting position for a very long time. That means for a very long time they don't have access to the job market, to real integration prospects. They, in many cases, the housing situation is decentralized, is remote. They don't have access to society, to social and cultural participation. In the first 3 months, they are not allowed to work at all. And then it depends also from where you come, because the people from the so-called safe countries of origin, they are not allowed to work at all during the whole procedure. So even if the procedure takes 1.5 years, they're not allowed to work. So that would be the West Balkan state, Senegal, Ghana, Georgia, Moldova. They added countries to the list. So it depends on where you're living, how you're living, and also where you come from in the end. I really think that people should, when they come, should have earlier access to social integration, to participation, to work, independent of their status. That should be something that should be much earlier in the procedure, in the arrival.
Moro Yapha is a migrant rights advocate who works in the Goliza Park as a mediator, and he agreed to meet us and tell us a bit more about the park.
Things happen in the park that are not told outside. I mean, they are just black people. If a trouble happen there, you will see it in the mainstream media, Goliza Park. But the positive sides of the park is not told, it's not being put on the media.
Can you tell me some of the positive things about the park?
Okay, some of the positive things, as I mentioned, I mean, the park is so diverse, There are so many cultures in the park. In the summer, when you go out in the park, you will find a lot of beautiful, diverse, people in the park. If I say people, this means Africans who are there, the people that they say, are negative or are criminals. These are people who make the vibrance, the ambience of the park beautiful. So when you go there, you will find different people, who are just making peace, not just dealing. Music, example, you find nice music. You can find Gambian music there. You can find Guinean music. You can find Sudanese music, Malian music. Every genre of music you can find in the park. Clothing, if you go there, you will find costume. You can find very beautiful costumes in the park. Food, African food, if you go there, you will find a lot of delicious African food in the park. So for me, these are things, that we need to put in mind rather than focusing just on the negative side, which is the struggle.
All that glitters is not gold, and despite the beauty of the park, many of the people here don't have their documents and are heavily discriminated against. Because of his personal experience, Moro knows a lot about the asylum procedure and the struggle of the Gambian community.
I was one of the survivors who took the journey. I mean, as we are all aware of, this Sahara route from the Gambia, which took me 10 months to reach Libya and cross the sea to Italy. I took the decision to come to Germany with the hopes and expectations that things gonna be better, as Germany is known, But what I wanted to tell you is that in Germany, the migration process is segregated, So that's the interesting part. So there are migrants who have good opportunities in Germany based on their origin, based on their identity or color, whatever we call it. I mean, when they come, of course, they don't have to struggle. They can get, a residence permit easily. They can go for integration courses easily, and they can choose what they want to do for their lives and so on. So Germany has good system for that. Well, the problem is, most of the countries, when we talk about specifically about African countries, most of the countries, sub-Saharan countries, are termed as economic migrants in the German context. So if you are from Africa as a migrant, you apply. To be honest, you have 70% chance to asylum or to your residence permit. So there's a term called good and bad refugees. So if you are from Syria or most countries in Middle East, there are good refugees here because why? They said they are integrated and they are from war-zone countries. So they give them basic provisions like healthcare, legal, social, and support, everything. So if you are from Africa, at the time of the struggle, so we are bad refugees.
According to the European Union, the definition of economic migrant is a person who leaves their country of origin purely for economic reasons, to seek improvement in their livelihood. But the reality is that in many places in the world, the livelihood is so poor and unstable that people are forced to leave. Poverty and widespread unemployment, as well as environmental issues like desertification and floods, are some of the problems faced by the so-called economic migrants. According to the International Displacement Monitoring Center, almost 400 million people around the world have been forcibly displaced by environmental problems since 2008. But there is more. Even if you manage to make ends meet in many countries in Africa and Asia, it is difficult to find jobs and to sustain yourself. Due to these circumstances, many people migrate elsewhere looking for better opportunities. Among top countries of origin are India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and the Philippines. In these countries, the GDP per capita is lower than 4,000 euros per year, compared to around 50,000 in Germany. And in other countries, wages are even lower and poverty is widespread. This is why the unequal distribution of wealth makes Europe the destination. Looking back at history, people have always moved to look for better opportunities. Entire nations have been sustained by travel and also by conquest. Europeans went all over the globe with ships and armies. Today, Europe benefits from the development and wealth accumulated through war and migration. But the majority of the world's population is not allowed to move. And after years of struggling to reach Europe, migrants from Africa and Asia are marginalized from society.
So most of the people here as a migrant, it's left to you to find your way out of it, to be honest with you, as a black or African migrant, specifically here in Germany. When they rejected their asylum within the first months, most of them here are not registered there. I would say almost all of them standing there are not registered here. They are registered either where I was registered in Baden-Württemberg, in Sachsen-Anhalt, or in other cities, states. So when they got this rejection and deportation, to be threatened, to be deported and so on, they chose to come to Berlin. When they come to Berlin, example, I'm African, you ask about African community, obviously they will tell you Goliza Park. Then you go and find the boys. But in the name of the politics, they just say that they are drug dealers because most of them have no opportunities. I mean, they were like me, as I narrated my story, earlier. They were like me who came and then had no options, no opportunities, and they were threatened to be deported back home without making any opportunities. So they decided to come. Berlin is a big city, and the only place they could find it's Goliza Park because they are our brothers and community. Not every black person you find in Goli is a dealer. No, I personally I'm a fan of the park for many years. I've never deal, but when I go there as a black person, I might get controlled by the police. You personally, if you go there as a black, you might get controlled by the police. There's a need for drug in Berlin. We all know that. It's a nightlife city. Me, I tell people, these people do not bring along drugs from Gambia or Guinea. They cross the sea without drugs. They cross the sea with expectations, with ambitions, with hopes. They come here and everything failed. The only option for them to do is this. Better than going to beg or still rob people. When it comes to migration, I'm very much concerned about deportation. I mean, I write about it, I talk about it, and I engage with the community about deportation. And I could have been a victim of deportation, but luckily I'm out. I'm living with brothers who are still current victims of deportation. So I see how it traumatized them. Because, I will just frame it in this way. For their listeners, those who, especially in Germany, those who have been deported from Germany are people who struggle to be here in Germany. They were not just airlifted from their home countries to be here. They struggled through borders crossing. And most of them went hardship. Some of our comrades died. Some of us who came here came with struggles, traumas. We came with mental issues that needs to be recovered. And this needs to be recovered by hospitality, embracing migrants, bring them, put them in position, give them social basic needs and so on. But instead of doing this, they put us in lager, in the asylum camp, which is like, you will see some lagers are 5 kilometers away from people. You'll be in the mountain, isolated. So you are still, with this trauma, with this, healing. On top of that, you get a letter telling you that you will be deported to your home country with all the hardship you went through, with all the, escapes of deaths and difficulties. So it's a very crazy thing. Some of the people are not understanding when you talk about deportation, because I think who feels it knows it. If you don't feel, you don't know it. We talked to some of the deportees, and they've mentioned, how this deportation is carried in general, how the deportation is carried out. I don't know if you know, but they are just like they are just caged like criminals, or the cattle who are just released from the jail or being taken away, or I don't know. They chain their legs and this and put them. So the condition of the deportation is not conducive, to be honest. It's against human rights. So we, the activists, Gambian activists here, we are also following to talk to human rights groups to monitor these deportation processes, how these deportations are carried before and after. The German president visited Gambia, and then, 2018, they made an agreement. So under this agreement means that they have to deport a minimum of 25 deportees every month from Germany to Gambia. They have to, on a chartered flight. And they have just deported, last batch was 28, some few days ago.
Deportations. The word itself tells of the inhumanity of this practice, which the European Union wants to expand and make structural. Imagine, after traveling through the desert, crossing the sea, being scammed, kidnapped, or even tortured by criminals, beaten and pushed back by the border guards, discriminated against and left at the margins. A migrant is forced to go back to the beginning. The story of Josiane, a German Congolese DJ and fashion designer, speaks volume about deportations in Germany. Josiane, born in Congo, has been living most of her life in Germany. Having studied and worked in Berlin, she speaks the language natively.
Hi, I'm Josiane Mutombo Ilunga. I'm 31 years old. I was born in Kinshasa, DRC. I came to Germany when I was 9 years old. We moved with my family to Bielefeld because of the job of my dad. And I stayed there, did my school, like primary school, high school, finished my high school diploma. Came to Berlin to kind of explore myself, see what I wanted to do when I was like 22 or something. And then at some point I went back to my parents, did my apprenticeship and finished it in 2020. Basically it was in 2021 when I came to Berlin. That I went back to my parents to renew my residency, but I was my address was at my parents' place and not here in Berlin, because I was living in Berlin for, I think it was already like 3 months, and I couldn't get a residency here in Berlin because of my living situation, which didn't allow me to do it in the in the lease or in the contract. So I went back to my parents to renew my residency, and the lady said, okay, since you are working in Berlin and living there, actually the officials in Berlin are responsible for you because you live there and you work there. And I said, no, but my address is here. So basically you have to do it here. And then she said, okay, we're going to give you, it's a Duldung. It's like that you are not accepted, that you can be here, but it's actually something for refugees. And she said, okay, we're going to give it to you for 3 months. And then you go just to the officials till you have an apartment where you can I don't know the English word.
Register.
Register. Like as soon as you register, like you have to get it in those 3 months, and they will give you your normal residency that you had. And I was like, okay. So I took that instead of saying something that it was wrong.
Josiane is not a refugee. She has a valid residency permit, but was put in a bureaucratic procedure that pertains to refugees. And this turned out to be a huge problem.
The appointment was like 4 days before my contract ended, my work contract. So I went there and I thought I'm gonna get everything, it's all good. So after getting it, I will look for a new job and blah. And like for me, it was okay. Everything it's gonna be fine. And then I was there, and then the lady said, okay, so how is like your job situation? I was like, okay, my job is ending in 4 days. Like my contract is ending in 4 days, and but I need like this permit that I need to work to find a new one. And then she was like, hey, okay, I will do everything. I will finish the paperwork, and then you can come back in and pick it up. And I was sitting there, and it took longer than usually. And I was like, okay, why is it taking so long to call me back in? Like I was sitting there and like just thinking. I got a little bit worried, but I was like, no, maybe it's just taking a little bit longer. It's all good. So I got back in, and I just saw a letter, like a paper with my face on it. And I was like, okay, this doesn't look like the permit that I'm actually getting. This looks weird. And then I read it, and they was written that it is a deportation letter. And I was like, okay, like what is this? And then she said, okay, we looked into your file, and there was a time from then till then where you didn't have a permit. So what happened there? So I explained to her that at that time I was a little bit wild and a little bit not responsible. She said, yeah, because of that, and that you're not working anymore in Germany, and that you don't have a family here, like kids or a husband or whatever, like you don't have a reason to be here. And I was like, but I was writing you people for like the longest. I sent emails, letters, and whatsoever. You didn't respond. And then she said, yeah, we saw your effort, and it was amazing, but we are swamped. And I was like, I didn't know how to react to it, because I was like, and then I started crying, and then she was like, you don't need to cry, and I was like what is happening right now? And then she was like, okay, I can send you some numbers and emails and addresses where you can go to, and maybe they can help you. So about deportations, if I checked how it's going, actually I didn't. It was when I got the letter, I left the building, called my dad, and then I was at home, and my mom, she worked at that time at Mitternachtsmission, which is an organization who helps not only undocumented women, but also women who got trafficked to find a resident here and get papers and put the kids in school if they have kids. And from their experience, they told me, okay, you have to leave your place and go to someone's house, because sometimes they get people at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And at that time I was like, okay, to who can I go? Because I wasn't allowed to leave the state Berlin. I had 3 months for this deportation process. I got the letter the 27th of March, and I had time till the 27th of June. And so Lena offered that I can stay at her place, and it was like, okay, like nobody can know where I am, not even other friends of mine. It was just like my closest family. Like I realized I got put in a position where I had a very hard time to trust people, because I didn't know, okay, this person, like, even I know the person doesn't know what is happening in my life. I was like, okay, if that person like says something, okay, they're gonna take me. If if I do this, like something's going to happen. Is like this trust of trusting people. Even seeing the police on the street, I was like, okay, you don't need to like even breathe. like don't do anything, just then go that way. Like, yeah, it's a very weird feeling.
Hey Europe, we need to talk. We are migrants and refugees and we are not welcome. We know that you don't want us here, but here we are. And you know that you need us. So what now? Are you going to deport us? Are you going to kill us? Are you going to arrest us? Ignore us? Or drive us into mental institutions as you've been doing with your policies? Or are you going to listen to us, find a solution, and together build a better Europe? I am Mohamed Bah, and I'm here to tell you about migration from our perspective. This is Migration Chronicles, an audio documentary about surviving border politics. From Malta in the Mediterranean Sea to Trieste on the Balkan route, from the forest in Poland all the way to Berlin, the center of Europe. Welcome to the City Rights Radio. This is Migration Chronicles, your window into the human cost of border politics. We explore the stories of those who endure violence, detention, and endless waiting for recognition. We are the illegalized people, migrants and refugees, asylum seekers. The media and politicians spin narrative about us but rarely listen to our voices. Thank you for listening and for seeking the truth beyond the dehumanizing headlines. I'm your host Mohamed Bah, and this is the City Rights Radio. The Migration Chronicles series was written and co-directed by Riccardo Biggi with the editorial supervision by Osama al Sayad and brought to you by Here to Support and Display Europe.